My name is Carol Bond, and I am your MC for today. The Rotary Club of Melbourne would like to acknowledge the Wurundjeri and Bunurong people of the Eastern Kulin Nations, and also pay our respects to elders past, present, and emerging, and extend that respect to all Indigenous Australians present here today. Welcome to our hybrid meeting. To those online and those in the room, today's thanks will be given by Philip Cornish, followed by the Loyal Toast presented by President Adrian. Please ensure that your glass is charged. Philip.
Well, I think it would be an understatement to say that many of us have been disappointed with spring so far in this great city. Can't even see the outside at the moment because we've shrouded it. I understand that spring will be finishing soon. So we surely look forward to summer, all of its pursuits. I note in wartime Australia, rations were increased by 2 pounds of sugar for households over summer, so that families could preserve their fruit for jams and the like for the rest of the year. Even if that was still a widespread practice, which I know it's not, given the flooding which is going on in Victoria's food bowl and Riverina, I think we would struggle. These communities will need our help and support for some time. Although I'm sure our Lord Mayor would want us to bottle and preserve some memories of Melbourne over summertime. For the season that is to warm us, I'm sure we will be thankful. But let's not forget those communities where this isn't going to be remembered as fondly. It's still going to be tough. And of course, for good food and fellowship, let's be grateful.
Rotarians and guests, a toast to Australia and Rotary International. Australia, Rotary International. Thank you, and please be seated. We'll now be breaking for lunch, and for those of you online, including those in Singapore, you'll be invited to join a breakout room where you can enjoy fellowship with others who are also online, or alternatively take your own lunch break, and we'll reconvene around 1:05, so in about 10 minutes. Thanks. Well, members, visitors and guests, it is my great pleasure to welcome you all to our 21st meeting of this Rotary year. It's our 4,964th club meeting in our 102nd year, and it's only 27 weeks until the Rotary International Convention is here in Melbourne. So a big thank you to Vice President Peter Davis for stepping in for me last week whilst I was in Japan, and congratulations to President-elect Chris Soteropoulos and the election of his team at the annual general meeting. I'll report on so congratulations, lots of clapping. I'll report on our visit to our sister city and our sister club's 100th anniversary in Psaka shortly. But today we welcome Lord Mayor Sally Capp. Sally is here to deliver the annual State of the City address to our club. And in addition, we'll be recognising the Lord Mayor with a Paul Harris Fellow. Sally's accompanied by her Chief of Staff, Jacob Clifton. So would you please acknowledge and make them both welcome. As guests of the club, we have Sofitel General Manager Clive Scott and our new member to be inducted shortly, Karen Kim. Karen is accompanied by her husband, Mark Eckel, and her friend, Mary Barry. And just for confusion, it's not the Mary Barry that we all know. We have a new Mary Barry, so very much a welcome to you all. So could you please acknowledge and make these club visitors and guests welcome. We also have other visiting Rotarians, visitors and guests of members both online today and in person. So I invite you and your host to stand when your name is announced and ask that you please remain standing to enable the club to welcome you in a collective manner. First of all, we have some visiting Rotarians. We have John McCaskill, who's from the Rotarian from Bees, the Rotary Club of Canterbury. So please stand up, John. Yeah. We have Pam Dittmer and Wendy Sterling, both from the Rotary Club of Port Phillip. Thank you. So please stay standing. So we also have guests of members. We have a guest of Cheryl Lacey. We have Dale Stevens. From the Bionics Institute, guests of Kevin Sheehan. We have Melissa McShane and Anne Fazalecki. Guests of Sana Malik. We have Shirin Anwar. We have Penny Trumbull, guest of Alan Trumbull. Rosemary Syme, guest of Robin Syme, and Jessie Dent, guest of Richard Dent. Unless anyone snuck in late, please join me in making all of these guests and members welcome. Now would Karen Kim please come forward for induction into membership of the club? And I call on Karen's sponsor, Austin Burley, to introduce her to the club.
Thank you, President Adrian. It gives me much pleasure today to introduce for membership of the club, Karen Kim, who holds the position of Music Director, Hello Music Studios, and will have the classification of Education Music. She will be a member of the Toorak 1 group and will be known in the club as Karen.
So Karen Kim, we welcome you as a member of the Rotary Club of Melbourne. Today you enter an organisation of more than 1.2 million members in over 35,000 clubs in more than 200 countries, embracing the internationality of Rotary. We believe that you have the personal and professional qualities that will ensure the principles of Rotary will be safe in your keeping. The Rotary badge you will receive in a moment, and I hope you will wear with pride. It indicates your commitment to the object of Rotary to which we all aspire, to encourage the ideal of service above self. We expect that you will become an ambassador from us into the community in which you live, and we ask that you convey Rotary's aims in all that you do. We look forward to you pursuing with us the great work of Rotary. So with this expectation, I offer you the right hand of fellowship and ask that members rise and join me in welcoming you to membership of our club. So welcome. And I call on Austin Burley to present the Rotary pin.
Karen, this is the official part of the proceedings where I present the pin of the club, but I won't be pinning it on.
Dangerous, huh?
There we go, that's right. Have we just looked that way for the camera? Well done.
Yeah, thanks.
And now, Karen, I'd just like to invite you to respond briefly.
Oh, thank you very much. All I wanted to say was thank you so much for bringing me so welcomingly, if that's a word, into your fold. I know that there's a lot of people here who are leaders in society, and that's what attracted me to Rotary, that you not only identify problems in society, but you actually implement and mobilise your vast resources to find a solution. So that's something that really resonates with me as a music educator and business person over the last 30 plus years. Even with my little music school business, we always encourage our musicians to contribute and make an impact and contribute back into the community with their musical talents. We've been, even through COVID, doing online music buskathons to raise funds to build schools in Ghana and send children in Uganda through school for a couple of terms. So even music can make that impact in society. So I look forward to meeting you all and working with you to create a better and sustainable future. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you, Karen. With past President Mary Barry, this is the other Mary Barry, Chair of the Host Organising Committee for the 2023 Rotary International Convention, please come to briefly update us on the convention. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Adrian. Good afternoon, and nice to meet another Mary Barry. Mind you, she is Mary the Greek, I'm Mary the Irish, so you can tell us apart very easily. Just to give you an update on the convention, As of yesterday, we've got 8,590 people fully registered and paid up, so that's a pretty good number at the moment. However, we do need more numbers. I think you know that all the time. We do want to get up to 20,000 people, so we do need more numbers. From Australia, we have 1,952, and from the US, we have 2,640, and from our district, which is 9800, we have 281. Now, just some very key messages for you. First of all, the registration fee is $475 American dollars. That goes up by 100 American dollars on the 16th of December. So please do not wait until the last minute to register if you haven't, because websites are websites, so you need to get in the next couple of weeks and register if you're planning to attend. If you know other people who are putting off registration because they're waiting for the Australian dollar to get better, or they're waiting for the world to get better, or they're waiting for something to improve, all that will happen is they will pay more for exactly the same thing. So encourage them to register and register quickly. Now, we're also looking for volunteers. Imagine volunteering at an international convention. How amazing is that? If you have family members or friends who are not registering but want to participate, they can also become volunteers. So if you want to register within the venue, you must be registered to attend. If you want to volunteer outside of the venues, there are plenty of opportunities. This is a great way to introduce your friends and your colleagues to what we call Rotary International. They will see from volunteering the internationality of what we all belong to. And you just heard President Adrian read how international we are out to Karen when she was inducted today. So I really want you to help us to find volunteers. Very important. It's what we do as Rotarians. We need you to volunteer. We need your friends. We need your family. We need people from other Rotary clubs, Rotarians, Rotaractors. We need everyone to consider volunteering. It's a great honour and privilege to be able to volunteer at an international convention. So please consider volunteering and register by the 15th of December. So I'm now going to leave you with our latest sizzle video. And I want you to see how amazing an international convention will be, something you don't want to have FOMO about. So make sure you register, and I'm going to hand over to Joe to show you this amazing video. So let the drums roll. Rotary International 2023 in Melbourne.
Get my shoes and out the door. 5, I'm alive. 6, 7, 8, feeling great. 9, gonna shine, life is good. I'm doing fine. 10, gonna do it right and do it again, yeah. I look into the sky with all the beautiful color, but there's more than just for me, so gonna share it with another. I got to show, to give, let out. I want to sing and shout. Take a look and see a beautiful morning that turns into a beautiful evening, and together make a beautiful life. And if you wanna see, then come along with me, that's right. And if you want a good tomorrow, it's pretty simple, got a partner like to follow. And if you do, you have a future real bright. And it's a combination of consistency. Come on and sing, oh, 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 oh. Come on, come on, come on and sing, yeah. Come on, come on, come on and sing. Oh, 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 oh. Come on, come on, come on and sing, yeah. Come on, come on, come on and sing. Oh, come on, come on, come on and sing, yeah.
Well, thank you, Mary. Just to let you know that that very video we showed to Rotarians in Psaka last Friday evening, and there's going to be a huge contingent coming from Japan, which is great. So now for some notices. Congratulations to club member Adrian Cluden for his election as President of the Victorian Chamber of Commerce and Industry this week. So what wonderful news there. I've also been advised that Ross Scholes Robertson is laid up in hospital currently following a fall, so I'm sure he'd appreciate a call, and we wish him a full recovery there. But as I mentioned earlier, last night I returned home following a week in Osaka, Japan, to celebrate the centenary of our sister club, the Rotary Club of Psaka. Accompanying me were past presidents Chris Wong and Robert Fisher, with their wives Janet and Myra, and past vice president Trevor Nink and his wife Millicent. And I did notice, for those who are online before, that we do have Chris and Janet who are beaming in live from Singapore today, which was wonderful. For me, it was my first trip to Japan, and one where Rotary opened doors that would otherwise seem unimaginable. This time last week, we beamed in live to this very room from the City Hall in Osaka. There we went with Ichiro Matsui, the Mayor of Osaka, which is Melbourne's sister city. We presented him with our official letter from our Lord Mayor Sally Capp, and we spoke together of the wonderful relationship between our cities since 1978, when we became sister cities, about business, education, and culture. We spoke of the very successful Future Leaders Exchange program back in 2008, with 4 young professionals from each city engaging in professional development visits, and the opportunity perhaps to repeat this in 2025 to coincide with the World Expo in Osaka. We shared great fellowship with the Rotarians of Osaka, experiencing their cuisine, their museums and art, and other cultural highlights. And during my talk, no doubt you'll see some of those cultural highlights that we experienced. But Friday was the gala concert and the Centenary dinner to celebrate 100 years of Rotary in Osaka. We met Osaka Rotarians with great connections to Melbourne and to Australia, including Trevor Holloway, the Australian Consul General in Osaka, Takashi Asahina, who's the former Chief Conductor of the Queensland Philharmonic Orchestra, who was proudly wearing his Order of Australia medal on the night, and Akito Mizuno, who's the sponsor of golf tournaments here in Australia, including the President's Cup, in his capacity as President and Chairman of the Mizuno Corporation. I presented to Club President Naohide Ueyama a special gift of a hand-carved emu egg from our club in my address about the great relationship of our decades as sister clubs. We sat front row for Rotary Club of Osaka Choir, and Kyoko Takezawa, who played her Stradivarius violin, which was made in 1724, which he'd also performed with in the Royal Albert Hall in London, New York's Carnegie Hall, and Vienna's Musikverein. At the gala dinner, I was invited on stage with 3 past World Rotary presidents and current President Jennifer Jones to break open a ceremonial barrel of sake. There we go. Our group had the chance to briefly speak with Jennifer. She congratulated us on our projects, particularly for Chris and Robert for their work on Give Every Child a Future. And Jennifer told us all that she'd be going to Kiribati later this year just for that project. And she is beyond excited to be joining us in Melbourne for the convention in May, including to help launch and open the Peace Bells here in Melbourne at Rotary Park. On Sunday, I then had the pleasure to catch the Shinkansen to Fukuoka, where I was hosted by the Rotary Club of Fukuoka at the Grand Sumo tournament. But I'll save that story for another day when we have a bit more time. I'd like to take this opportunity at this meeting to officially thank Shinji Higuchi from the Rotary Club of Osaka. Many of you have met Shinji in his many travels to Melbourne, and he'll be back again in February, and then of course again in May for the convention. He's an outstanding Rotarian who puts service above self, and along with our own past president, Chris Wong, he's enabled this wonderful sister club relationship to blossom for decades. So thank you to Shinji, and thank you to Chris. I now have a very special presentation to make. The Paul House Fellow was established in 1957 in honour of Rotary's founder and is combined with a US $1,000 contribution in support of humanitarian and educational programs of the Rotary Foundation, funded, implemented and managed by Rotarians and Rotary clubs around the globe. Foundation programs provide educational opportunities food, potable water, healthcare, immunisation and shelter for millions of persons. It is the tradition of this club that the naming of a Paul Harris Fellow is based upon the contribution of individual members and deserving members of the community who practice the Rotary motto, service above self. I'd like to ask Sally Capp to please join me on the stage. So just please stand there, Sally. So Sally Capp was inducted into the Rotary Club of Melbourne in November 2018, not long after her election as the 104th Lord Mayor of Melbourne. It continued the long-standing tradition of Lord Mayors being members of this club. Sally was re-elected Lord Mayor of Melbourne in October 2020 and is the first woman to be directly elected as Lord Mayor. Sally was born in Papua New Guinea and educated at Presbyterian Ladies College before graduating with honours in economics and law from Melbourne University. She commenced her career as a solicitor and has held senior roles at both KPMG and ANZ, and co-founded a small business which she took to the Australian Stock Exchange. She was the first woman to hold the post of Agent General for Victoria in the UK, Europe and Israel. She has also served as the CEO for the Committee for Melbourne and Victorian Executive Director of the Property Council of Australia. She is involved in a number of charities and a passionate Collingwood Football Club supporter. In 2004, Sally made history as the first female board member of Collingwood Football Club. Sally's top priority is bringing the buzz back to Melbourne and driving the city's economic recovery, and she creates an infectious enthusiasm around her. Sally is committed to ensuring Melbourne remains a global leader in environmental sustainability and addressing the issue of secure housing. Both these focuses align closely with Rotary Melbourne activities. Sally's been a great supporter of Melbourne Rotary with her annual State of the City address, as an International Women's Day breakfast panellist in 2020, and recently at the club's inaugural World Environment Day event in June 2022. Most importantly, she brought leadership, passion, and invaluable support to our successful 2023 Rotary International Convention bid. Today, Sally, we proudly name you a Paul Harris Fellow for your commitment to the community and for your support of Rotary projects that improve our city. Please accept our sincere appreciation of your support for this ideal and the Rotary Foundation. That's right. So, ladies and gentlemen, please congratulate and recognise our newest Paul Harris Fellow.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Well done. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
And with that, I will now invite you to respond and to deliver the 2022 State of the City Address. Ladies and gentlemen, Lord Mayor Sally Capp.
I'm really humbled, actually quite emotional, to have received that award today and the acknowledgement of this wonderful club, but importantly, I know that this club is full of the most incredible achievers and doers, as Karen said earlier, so it's extra special for me to receive this award from you. Please accept my very humble gratitude and appreciation. Now, I am so pleased that Adrian didn't try to introduce me again after that long citation. So thank you very much. It's always lovely to be taken back through one's history. Born in Papua New Guinea, wow. And so I'm really pleased to be able to be here today to join you all for the State of the City Address, something I look forward to every year. We are on the lands of the Wurundjeri Wurrung people, and I acknowledge them as traditional owners, their care of the land and the waterways as the longest continuous living culture in Australia and the world, and pay respects to elders past and present. Well, I love being up here at number 35. Thank you, Clive, as well. It's such a fantastic venue, and of course the view is brilliant from these heights, but one of the reasons I love coming here and looking out of the windows is, of course, we are looking at the community and the city that we all serve, and it's an important reminder of the responsibilities that we share and the achievements that we have been able to deliver for our community. And it is important that I acknowledge Rotary, particularly this Rotary Club, as the first and the largest Rotary Club in Australia. I'm not competitive, but that's awesome. And of course, all of the powerful possibilities that you drive for our community to create a better world here and across the globe for people who are very deserving. I note particularly the work that you do with us across so many elements of our organisation, and thank you to everybody who engages in different ways with the City of Melbourne. And I know that the work that you're doing on homelessness, for example, extends to work that you're doing on biodiversity and bees, and we really do appreciate all of those interactions, knowing that we're working together with your combined expertise, experience and resources to create those positive outcomes. We today get an opportunity for me to, as I have done in the past, gallop through a whole lot of stats. And if you only remember one of them, that's fantastic from my perspective. Taking away one morsel of fact out into the community about what's happening here in our city is a gift to me. But I am going to do a bit of a drowning by stats, so bear with me. And it's a great excuse to look back, but importantly at the moment to really get a sense of the current momentum and to look forward. I think today we can officially declare that we've left the anxiety and anguish of COVID and the pandemic behind us. I think we should just call it. We've come to the end of 2022 where we've still had so many impacts and the overhang of the pandemic. But as we look forward, we really need to look forward, and we deserve to look forward with confidence as to what's happening in our city. We call it shucking off the reputation as the world's most lockdown city as we move forward to reclaim that title as the world's most livable city. And here are some of the things that give you a sense of that momentum. Our general pedestrian activity is now at a weekly average of 98% of pre-pandemic levels. That represents some days that are massively higher and some days where we've still got work to do, like Mondays, but across the week it's at 98% of pre-pandemic levels. Our weekends, 15 weeks in a row now, have exceeded pre-pandemic foot traffic, which is extraordinary and wonderful. Our nighttime activity is gobsmacking. People are coming back in droves, and across key dining and entertainment precincts like South Bank and Lygon Street, we're seeing foot traffic at 22% above pre-pandemic levels. We're also seeing across the board a 20% uplift in demand for tickets to events, and that sense of not taking our only in the city experiences for granted is certainly here as people come back in numbers. You may find it difficult, I do, to get a restaurant booking in the city. It's a great problem to have at the moment, but it's important to remember that as we hear stories of the many businesses that had to close during COVID, in 2022 we've had 68 new cafes and restaurants open in the CBD and 51 new entertainment venues open in the City of Melbourne, which is quite extraordinary how resilient our traders and business owners are. I know that you are particularly interested in international students. Our international student numbers now are climbing. We have 102,801 international students back in Victoria, which is great news. We're 40% up on the same time as 2021, so a 40% increase on this time last year, but we're still at about 68% of pre-COVID levels. So work to do, but the momentum is positive, and every effort we make to enhance the experience that international students have in our community is worthwhile for multiple reasons. We are ranked as the #1 retail spending destination across the nation. We have come back with our wallets open, which is wonderful to see. And this is having the desired impact on our retail vacancy rate, which was as high as 31% in November 2020. It was about 20% 6 months ago, and it's currently at 17%, so trending in the right direction. To give you some context, it was 5% pre-COVID, so again, still some work to do. Our planning data shows that we're expected to hit a record $2.5 billion in new development applications in the City of Melbourne. And I share this with you to give you a sense of the confidence that significant investors have in the future of our city. Again, quite extraordinary. Now, we know we still have a lot of work to do, and we know that we still need to settle that new working rhythm in our city. It really is the big conundrum that we're still grappling with. People say to me, and I believe them, Monday to Friday, 9 to 5 is so yesterday, now that flexible working is here to stay. But it is vital for our small business owners that we settle into a rhythm that gives them some certainty to be able to plan and order and invest with confidence, because for many of them, I take the little Japanese place across the road from Town Hall. On some days, they are throwing food away, and on other days, they've run out of food by the time I get there. It's very, very hard still for our small business owners. But from all of those stats, can I say the trend is our friend, and we are on a positive trajectory into the future here in the City of Melbourne, and a lot to be proud of. It does represent a massive team effort across every sector, businesses big and small, community organisations, private sector, universities, and the list goes on, all levels of government. And again, if I can just say thank you very much for everything you've been doing to bring your efforts to rejuvenating and revitalising our fantastic capital city. Now, we've done a lot of forecasts. I talked about these last year, and I'll just remind you about what the future of the city brings. As Adrian mentioned, very much a focus on bringing back the buzz as a priority, because we need economic prosperity to really provide positive momentum to housing and to responding to climate change. Our economic forecasts tell us that we will hit a gross local product in our municipality of $150 billion by the year 2031. $150 billion. Our next big threshold is to hit 120 billion by the end of the 24 financial year, about 18 months away. To give a sense of growth, we hit a record $104 billion pre-COVID. So we're going to see massive growth towards the end as we head into the end of this decade. And our gross local product in the municipality of Melbourne is bigger than Tasmania, the ACT and Northern Territory economies combined. So the significance of the economic activity in the City of Melbourne is a driver of the state economy and has national significance. Many of you know we're the fastest growing city still in Australia, set to be more populous than Sydney by 2030. And our growth represents 600 jobs here in our municipality and almost 300,000 residents. So we're going to be busy. Is anybody else feeling exhausted at this point? I hope so. It's been busy, and it's been fruitful, and it's been worthwhile. Now, that is a lot of data to digest over lunch, so I'm going to paint you some pictures about some of our projects that you are already aware of and involved in different ways. Over the next decade, this is what we will see in Melbourne. We will see Green Line. You will be able to stroll along the north bank of the Yarra River, the Birrarung, from Birrarung to Bolte Bridge, 4 kilometres of promenade, and that will connect new and existing and upgraded green open spaces It will bring to life our Australian ancient Aboriginal culture with an experience that you cannot have anywhere else. And it will deliver one of the biggest transformations in our city's history. 1990 was South Bank, which is now Premium Entertainment District. Early 2000s was Federation Square, and it is time for another city shaping project, which is what Green Line brings to our city. I know that you're very interested in having bees along Green Line, and I'm right there with you. Promoting biodiversity with bees, butterflies and birds has multiple benefits for our city. Speaking of biodiversity, another transformation that you will see in our city over the next decade is the delivery of Power Melbourne. Now, since 2012, the City of Melbourne's operations have been carbon neutral, and we have really been leading the way as an organisation here in Melbourne and around Australia in the region on responding to climate change. But for us to reach our targets, we need the entire municipality to be active in an urgent way on delivering projects that move us towards being 100% renewable energy city by 2030. I feel like I've got to look at my watch every time I say it, and a zero net carbon emissions city by 2040. What you will see in the city that is different particularly is this project Power Melbourne, which is neighbourhood scale batteries about the size of a shipping container, located around our city, that creates an independent network delivering renewable energy directly to our households and our businesses in the city. We will have these batteries at iconic places like Queen Victoria Market. We'll have them outside our neighbourhood centres like the new Kensington Rec Centre, which will also be completed in this time. It is also helping drive the retrofitting of existing commercial buildings in our city. 66% of our emissions come from existing commercial buildings, and our efforts to retrofit those buildings are very immediate. So look out for Power Melbourne with our first battery on site at our library at the Dock in Docklands in May next year. Hold me to it, I'm holding our team to it. You will also notice a jungle of plants covering building walls and roofs as we continue to deliver on our urban forest strategy and increase our wildlife habitat in the city. And I hope that one of the big realisations as we look back is that sense of grey becoming green. Again, vital for so many reasons in our city. But a big part of that is increasing our canopy cover. We're doubling it from 23% to 40%. That's not quite double, but you know what I mean. 40% of green canopy cover, which represents 55,000 new trees that will have been planted since 2012 through to 2040. It's going at a rate at the moment of 3,000 net new trees every year across the municipality. I hope you'll be able to breathe a sigh of relief, a really big, healthy drawing of oxygen, knowing that together with your efforts, we are creating a more resilient and sustainable city for the future. I wanted to touch on QVM, Queen Victoria Market and Munro precinct in the north there. How many people visit Queen Victoria Market regularly? Quite a few, great. Well, you'll notice the transformation that is underway, a project, $268 million renewal program that had really stalled in 2018. Working with all our stakeholders is now well underway. Thank you for shopping in amongst all of the construction zones, but we are delivering there now a new build-to-rent project that is just opening, which includes affordable housing. We've got 58 affordable units there that have been occupied for the last 12 months, and a new hotel, new retail and hospitality, and of course the restoration of those magnificent heritage sheds will be finished by June next year. I'm really excited, just speaking about homelessness, to understand and support your efforts to help the most vulnerable in our city, and this is my last point, because as we drive that prosperity, I mentioned earlier, we must remain vigilant. We are a caring community, and I know that because it's the number one thing that people write to me about still. How are we caring for people who are rough sleeping and experiencing homelessness in our city? We are accelerating on our own land, more key worker housing in particular, knowing that it's, all successful cities have housing available for people across all economic stratas of our society, but knowing that we can welcome more nurses and fireys and police and cleaners into living in our city is absolutely critical. But for those who are on our streets, where we've made massive steps forward during COVID, and I spoke about this last year, more than 2,000 people put into hotel accommodation during COVID. It has changed their lives. It has made a massive difference in the city, but we are still seeing people who feel their only option is to rough sleep on our streets, and that is unacceptable. And that's why we're really pleased to be delivering Make Room at 602 Little Bourke Street, where we are renovating one of our own council buildings into 50 purpose-built studio apartments with support services co-located and social enterprise at our ground level so that we can provide training and work opportunities. It is at the highest of benchmarks on the best of care and a circuit breaker for people to be able to identify long-term pathways to employment and housing. And that will open towards the end of next year. It's called Make Room. I'd be delighted to talk with you more about that because we're continuing our own fundraising efforts to complete that building. But we're really excited that those 50 apartments, it's not just 50 people, helped because some people only need to stay for 3 nights, or they might need 3 weeks or even 3 months. They can stay the year if they want to, but it's going to help hundreds of people on that long-term pathway to housing and employment. I can't wait to work with you to deliver this new look, new feel Melbourne with you. There is no doubt we're not going back to where we were. We are going forward to something that is braver and bolder. There's no doubt that we feel the power of the bruise that was COVID, but we're really embracing all of the silver linings, the achievements, and particularly that heightened sense of commitment and collaboration that we feel across our community to delivering a city that's not just more vibrant, it's more sustainable and it's more inclusive. And I thank all of you here for the roles that you play in delivering that type of Melbourne for all of us. Thank you.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Sally. Thank you very much. It's a bit of deja vu of suddenly holding a microphone like this, because the last time I was holding this was in a hospitality club in the streets of Psaka doing some karaoke.
What did you sing, Adrian?
Well, I asked them if they had any Billy Joel, and they, Billy Joel, and then they're like, Billy Joel, yes. So I did. But Sally has graciously agreed to take some questions today. So if anyone would like to ask a question, please raise your hand. Carol will make her way around to you, but if you could just state your name when you ask the question and we'll go from there. Thanks.
Could you upgrade us on the progress that is maybe being made on the Contemporary Art Gallery?
Yes, the Melbourne Arts Precinct, a $1.6 million investment by state government, by City of Melbourne and a number of our big institutions, including the NGV, into that precinct is really quite extraordinary and one of the most exciting projects. You will see progress underway at the moment if you're at the Arts Centre and you've noticed those enormous silver pipes that have gone in. I'm not sure if you have. Look out for them. Some people think they're artwork. They're not. It's the engineering to move all of the services out of the State Theatre precinct so that they can start on the renovation works inside. So they're having to move all of the water, all of the electricity, those types of services literally out of the building. So you'll be able to see them all at the moment. So all of the boring bits are being done around the State Theatre. That's the first part of the work that is underway for the entire precinct. And it does mean that if you're an opera lover or a ballet lover, instead of going to the State Theatre, you'll be coming to the Regent Theatre over the next 4 years. You'll have to bear with us because delivering those upgraded facilities at the State Theatre is a really important priority. You would have seen the plans finalised, the architect plans who won, and if somebody can remind me of the name of that architect, it's quite hard to say. Anyway, they were the winning consortia, so that they have been identified. They are now working on detailed plans for the NGVC. And it'll take a little while before we see those works start, but the detailed plans are underway. And the last thing I wanted to say is that the public realm enhancements, as they're called, are underway. We're doing Dodd Street at the moment, so if you go to the MTC or the Recital Centre, you'll see in January that we're starting to work on new urban landscaping on Dodd Street, and ultimately there's a plan for a new meadow to go in place to draw people from the State Theatre down to the NGVC, and it's going to be absolutely spectacular. So you might not see a lot happening externally at the moment, except for those enormous pipes, but please know that there's a lot underway.
Sally, Rosemary Nixon, thanks very much for that. I might be flogging a dead horse on this one, but it quite annoys me that Melbourne has this moniker of the world's the worst lockdown city. When I visited friends in Spain, in Italy and France, and they couldn't actually leave their houses for 6 weeks. My friend in Spain had to dress his dog up dress his cat up as a dog in order to leave his apartment. So we may have had the world's longest lockdown, but I'm not really sure that it was the worst one, but we seem to be stuck with this. Any comments?
Yes, I absolutely agree with you, and I think getting international perspectives on our experience here in Victoria is really important, something I was lucky enough to experience through lots of mayors' forums at the time to understand we actually had it pretty good here in Melbourne. But given that we had 262 days in lockdown, we still rank up there overall as one of the cities that had longest lockdowns. And it's interesting because I was in Singapore earlier this year and I was asked, are you open? And yes, we are open. So the more vibrant we can be, the more internationally we engage. Having the Rotary Conference here in May next year, actually the timing couldn't be better for really showcasing that Melbourne, Victoria, Australia is open. And we're grateful for all of those sorts of efforts. And don't stop. What did you say? Don't stop flogging that dead horse. It's important that we keep getting the message out there because unfortunately that reputation still impacts in lots of ways, and we do need to overcome it, including international students, people applying for visas to come and work, etc. So it's a narrative we've got to change as quickly as possible.
Sally, Peter Dakin, congratulations on the Paul Harris Fellowship.
Thank you.
And your presentation. Look, I'm still working in the city. I've been coming in for 55 years. I think parts of the city are a disgrace.
Oh.
I've got photos for you today of Flinders Street.
Yes.
From Flinders Street Station, the state government was going to be fixing up. Walking down Flinders Street, the rubbish, and it's just not cleaned up.
Yep.
And to have Rotarians coming to Melbourne, something's got to be done about it. And these photos you won't be impressed with.
I will not, because we are roads, rates and rubbish. And Peter, I'm so disappointed every time I hear those comments for people feeling that the city isn't clean.
And I know about the homeless as well, and we're working with you on that.
Homeless is a different matter altogether, although I know that that does impact the experience on the streets. Can I say to you that we have record investment in cleaning the city. It's one of the most frustrating things for us at council that we have to spend millions of dollars on picking up other people's bits of paper and rubbish that they leave in our streets and cleaning graffiti, but we are responsible for that and we must take it seriously. We have a new rapid response clean team in our city that basically are there all of the time and should be proactively cleaning those areas, particularly because they're high traffic zones, and also to respond to requests when we have somebody identify an issue for us. For example, the other day walking down Collins Street, I noticed that somebody's dog had relieved themselves in the middle of the pavement and the owner hadn't cleaned it up. So there's a rapid response clean team.
Okay, I look forward to that.
Yes, and what I would just finish by saying is that we do have a new system for reporting where you see rubbish, because the best thing you can do is be our eyes and ears in the city. I don't want you to have to do that, but when you do see something that needs cleaning, there are QR codes on all of our bins that take you straight into our website. You can easily log what the issue is, and then our team is monitoring that constantly to go out and do proactive cleaning. But I'll actually have a walk along Flinders Street myself today, and I've got Jacob here. We'll send a note through to our team to make sure that Flinders Street particularly, but can I say in advance, the city needs to be sparkling when 20,000 Rotarians arrive here in May, and we are very conscious of our contribution to making sure that that conference is stunningly successful for everybody.
Okay, thank you. And just finally, I'd love you to get public servants back to work, because there's so many bad spots around the city. And the Royal Arcade, what a beautiful arcade, only about 20% of the shops are tenanted at the moment. So that's critical that you work with the state government to get public servants back to work.
Yes, and I would say they are one of our biggest employers, and it is important they come back, but most of our big employers are still resisting the call to arms on asking people to come back. So it's a big focus for next year. I hope post-election, post-summer, we have our big accounting firms and law firms and banks and state government asking people to come back. Can I just tell you one other thing though, Peter, which everybody in this room can help with as well? We've been doing a shopfront activation program where we help subsidise people to come in and try bricks and mortar for the first time in empty shopfronts on short leases. And we put the call out, and we've had more than 600 small businesses say we'd like to participate, which is absolutely fantastic. We've only had 75 landlords willing to do short-term leases at subsidised rent, and Royal Arcade is a great example of where there are different landlords in every single shop, and a lot of them aren't willing to do any deals at the moment. So that group effort to really bring, to solve all of those issues is important, but thank you for raising both of those with me.
Peter, and just lastly, we have Quinn.
Oh, Quinn.
Sorry.
Quinn Scalwell, Sally. Sally, you mentioned about the Monday, Friday, and Peter's added to the fact that we still don't have the numbers back. Is there a plan what we're going to do for those empty buildings? Because it does appear if the Monday and Friday sticks, we're going to have a lot of very valuable real estate that could be doing something else. Any plans?
Yes, there are lots of conversations underway. We've done a very detailed audit to understand of those buildings what could be converted to residential, and unfortunately not many because of the Better Apartment Guidelines, which you'd be very familiar with, which means floor plates for commercial buildings aren't easily transferable to residential, although there are some older buildings where that might be possible. We're really looking out to landlords who might be willing to make space available for creatives to come in. We know that they bring a lot of energy and vibe into the city, whether it's musicians and artists or it's architects and web designers making spaces available for smaller businesses to come in. But it does mean two things. It means that landlords need to be willing to do smaller footprints, and it also means usually that they're waiting for lower rents, and we actually haven't seen much of that happening because the people sitting on really big leases around town are still working out what their needs are. And it's an interesting phenomenon when I was speaking with KPMG last week. On Tuesdays, Wednesdays and Thursdays, you can't get a desk in there. It's so packed. So they need their space, even if it's quite empty on Mondays and Fridays. So we're watching the sublease market very, very carefully to see what not just the big landlords, but also the big tenants might be making available for smaller organisations to come in. And I'll just finish with one other. I was at Freshwater Place number 2 last night. And it's a big commercial building. They've just done 6 spec suites for people that know. They've actually fitted out these suites smaller footprint, and they've put all of the fit out and the furniture in, so tenants could just walk in. They've done 6 of those in that big building, and 4 of them went in the first 2 weeks to new tenants. So landlords are really starting to try different things, and I think that reflects a different way of working going forward. But the demand to come in from smaller businesses is high, noting that pre-COVID we were full. So even if they could afford it, they couldn't get in. But they're an example of some of the conversations. We're obsessed by commercial buildings and getting people back. Yeah.
Thank you, Sally. We went a little over time,
Sorry,
but I think...
it's my fault, probably.
No, I added an extra... I thought it was important to let Quinn and Peter ask the questions. So,
Do you want me to sit down?
no, you stay up. You stay up. So it was great to hear about your bees, butterflies and birds. Meeting with World President Jennifer Jones last week. She's also got a big focus on butterflies, and particularly the monarch butterfly. And like Sally, Jennifer Jones's social media profile is very active because both of them are very busy women who do a lot of good things for the community. So we thought to add to that, we might do a selfie with the team here. So everyone in the background, please smile and wave. Thank you. Very good.
Adrian's taking us to a new level here.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, watch out, Rotary. But thank you very much, Sally, for sharing your time and informing us each and every year at the Rotary Club of Melbourne. We really do value it, and we do really value you being a member of our club. We have a gift for you today.
Thank you.
So I'll hand that to you.
Thank you very much.
It includes some chocolates, but also includes our wonderful Rotary Convention 2023 socks, which are made, we're trying to get business going in Melbourne. They're made by our local, 200% Australian made by Phil Enderby's Wilderness Wear here in Melbourne. So make sure you wear them with pride. And please put our hands together for our Lord Mayor. Sorry, Capp. Thank you to all our visitors and guests for attending today. I wasn't sure if I was going to get through this after flying in last night, but we've got this far and I'm very pleased. We did advertise beforehand that the Smith family would be here today. Unfortunately, they couldn't make it at the last minute. They are dealing with some hacking issues at the moment, so their management is very busy, and so we've just deferred that to a future week. So anyone who is expecting coming to see the Smith family, please join us again. Thank you also to our MC, Carol Bond, and for their reflection, Philip Cornish, and as always, our lunch setup and reception teams for your efforts. If anyone can stay behind for a few minutes afterwards to help pack up, it's always appreciated. So a reminder, next week we're back here at number 35 for lunch, and our guest speakers will be the RACV's President and Chairman, Jeffrey Cosgriff, and CEO Managing Director, Neil Taylor. It's terrific access to an important business entity in our state, and we hope you can join us.